Hello. Welcome to another battleship inspection in World of Warships. And we are looking at the Willem de Eerste. Billy the First, buddy. Here it is. I've actually tried to make this video 2 times already, and Wargaming is doing me a solid by basically making my replay files unusable by stealth patching the game, so that's pretty cool. But also part of it is that I'm a lazy piece of shit, so, we finally did it. Willem de Eerste, here it is. It's for steel. Is it worth getting? Yes, absolutely. The ship is very good. Very good. You have PVO airstrikes. If you're not familiar with those are the gigantic drop pattern bombs that have a really long time to drop. They take like 18 seconds to fall from the sky, which means they're very hard to lead most of the time. But however, they do have like obscene damage fire chance, and most importantly, I guess what you're really interested in is the HE pen on the bombs. Golden Lion and Utrecht both pen 37, which means you get through, your 32 mil plated BBs, a handful of fringe ships with 35 decks, right? PVO and Willem airstrikes, what makes them, I would say, really the only thing that actually makes these airstrikes special is against American battleships. They are really just frankly diabolical against ships like Maine and Montana and Iowa and Wisconsin. The BBs with 38 mil plated decks. Now, there's a handful of BBs out there with like a 45 or a 40 deck, right? Like there's some weird premiums, like Lenin has a 45 deck, and you know what I mean? Like there's some ships out there, but the relevance of the pen on these bombs is that against USN fast BB lines, that's the Montana line, you pen them everywhere. So when you drop those ships with an Utrecht or a Golden Lion, you typically get like around 5,000 damage. When you drop them with Willem or PVO airstrikes, you very often, especially if they don't have AA support, which is kind of the only thing that saves them from getting nuked, it is not unheard of to like literally 30 to 40k ships like Maine with these airdrops. They're absolutely fucking absurd. They're very hard to lead, so that's also part of why they fist these USN BBs so hard too, is they're bricks usually, right? Like Montana is a brick. It's not super fast. It's not very maneuverable. So it's not too hard to lead. I'm not the best at leading these airdrops, but we're hitting this Montana. And yeah, that is 26,000 damage and a double fire. Like, God bless, dude. I mean, truly God bless Montana enjoyers in the Big 25. Like, and it's so fucking weird to me. Like, I'm just going to ramble about this game, dog shit game design. Obviously, the airstrikes themselves are dog shit, but like, why do we have this airstrike, this Prins van Oranje, this Willem de Eerste airstrike that just like exclusively is designed to smash USN BBs? Like we just can't balance Maine, so we come up with airstrikes that like Maine is balanced when this boat is in the lobby. That's all I'm gonna say. If this ship is in a Maine lobby, that Maine ain't playing the fucking game, dude. I can tell you right now. If you're in a Maine and this ship is on your flank, it's over. Like, the game's over. Like, legitimately, you might as well relocate or just run it down and die early and go GG next. Like, it's fucking absurd. Absolutely absurd. So, I mean, PVO airdrops with a much better reload, right? We're running, I guess you would call this a full build. And we are reloading in just over 80 seconds base, which is pretty solid. Now, of course, big question for a lot of people probably is, like, I'm a big preacher of prop mod on the Utrecht. No, I do think you build for airstrikes on this because, of course, you're in a battleship. A badly aimed drop, double fire over 20,000 damage. So, 2 airstrikes, literally, if we were counting those 2 good airstrikes, right? I had kind of a shitty one with, like, barely clipped his ass. But we have had 2 airstrikes on this Montana, and just in those 2 airstrikes, we've done 45k and 4 fires. And that's what I mean, like, obviously you'll do the same damage to, like, a Republic, right? A Thunderer, a Conqueror kind of a thing. Kind of, right? The reason why I say kind of is because those ships aren't as big, right? What's unique about these airstrikes against USM BBs is it pens them everywhere. but also they're giant fat piggies, right? So they're just more surface area of deck for them to catch these HE bombs. So I mean, you know, we've like fired 3 salvos and we've dropped 3 airstrikes and we're like 100k. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool game design, I would say, overall. Then we can talk about the guns. Willem to Eerste guns are absolutely cracked. I would go so far as to say, like, if the guns weren't this good, you wouldn't get the boat. Like, you're not getting this boat for just the airstrikes by any means, right? Golden Lion is a ship you get for just the airstrikes. In my opinion, it's kind of like unique. Most of these Dutch boats are like sleepers with the guns, right? Like, you play Utrecht for guns, you play PVO for guns, you play Tromp for, I mean, the combination, the suite of aids that Tromp brings, right? And then this is more like a Tromp where like you're kind of equally playing it for the guns and the airstrikes. But the guns are super cracked. Basically what you have are Republic guns without the overmatch. That's how you should think of them. You have normal BB dispersion, 2.1 Sigma, same as Republic. You have like the same shell flight time as Republic. You have almost identical AP penetration to Republic. You have like a similar amount of shells per minute because yes, the reload is, you know, 4 seconds worse, 3 seconds worse, but you shoot an extra shell, so you're even a little bit more slightly consistent against DDs and battleships and cruisers that are flat with a single salvo. So basically, this is a Republic AP that only has 27mm overmatch, is how you really think about it. So you get black ribbons on BBs. Like this Vermont, obviously we don't have shots on him, but he's 20 kilometers away and he's flat. Yeah, we'll Citadel that. You will absolutely Citadel ships like Vermont at 20 plus kilometers. And listen, buddy, if getting black ribbons on retarded BBs in their spawn who go flat because they're used to battleships not having the pen to Citadel them, if getting Citadels on those battleship players doesn't get you rock hard, I honestly just don't even want to know you. Like, I don't even want to know you if that doesn't get your fucking juices flowing, buddy. Oh, my goodness. So, the guns are insanely cracked. Also, it's a super toxic HE spammer. We can look at the HE. We're getting 2 Willem buffs, but as you can see, you do, like, 60, 150 alpha, like, crazy alpha strike. Up there, you know, Conqueror fire chance, but obviously much better dispersion than Conqueror thanks to the Sigma. And then, of course, a very solid reload. It's like 24.5 seconds on full HP. It's pretty crazy. Railgun shell velocity. Also, this is a metric that, of course, is never listed anywhere in the game because Wargaming would never want you to have as much information as possible to perform. But Willem to Eerste does, if you play it enough, you will notice it has the... well, people in my clan, we just refer to it as the magical British HETM, which is that it has like a diabolical module knock and fire chance, apparently. I mean, it's quite clear, like, if you play the boat, like, you shoot a destroyer and you break every single fucking module on the ship with 4 HE pens, so... it definitely has, like, British HE features, but, I mean, obviously, like, everything Citadel is Marlborough at that range, but, you know, you're very consistent. Very consistent against broadsides. A bit more consistent than Repub, because, like I said, you have the same penetration, you have the same shell velocity. Now, we can talk about 2 of the big downsides of Willem, and the fun's over, boys. The police have arrived. The party shut down. Underage drinking was, in fact, observed. Yeah, submarines. Oh, buddy. Submariner gameplay. My God. Send help if you're in Willem to Eerste. Just send help. Watch this hit on this Venom. Bro, we broke everything on his boat. His whole boat just broke. Everything. We've got to buy it. We broke the whole boat now. I mean, it's fucking crazy. And that's what I mean. Like, we hit 4 shells and we... Now, he'll suffer a bit less in mod. Thank God module rework is coming. But, yeah, against submarines, you don't do anything. I'm trying to even think of a comparison. Willem to Eerste against subs is like the battleship version of G-Nan against subs. Let's go with that. This against subs by BB standards is like G-Nan against sub. I mean, like, this guy's just in my mouth, but, like, I can't even blind drop him. Why? Because Wargaming made your submarine airstrikes reload and take the same slot as your fucking normal airstrikes. God bless. So, number 1, you basically just, like, don't even have the ability to send a plane at subs. Now, even if you somehow hoarded these airstrikes and wanted to use them against the sub, they're actually dog shit because they drop 3 bombs with less damage than normal, but more importantly, they keep the same. Props to that Salem, by the way. Props to that Salem for recognizing what was going to happen if any accelerated. Most players are too dumb to do what he just did, so good on that guy. Um, wow, it's always impressive to like see a guy with hands in World of Warships. God bless this Salem dude. But anyway, so even if you saved up 2 airstrike charges and dropped them perfectly on the sub, they still take 18 motherfucking goddamn seconds to drop on the sub. So you're never gonna hit the sub. So you don't have ASW. Like Wargaming went out of their way to give this thing ASW, and we can kind of skip through these. These are gonna be 3 replays we're gonna look at that are kind of on the shorter side. But Wargaming went through all this trouble to like give this thing airstrike planes, and it really just proves that they have no idea how their own game works, because you can't use them. Like you objectively can't use them against subs. I mean, even in games where like the only ships left alive are subs and you know where they are because they're spotted, you still don't hit subs with these airdrops because they have the same drop characteristics, man. I mean, like, what are we doing? So that's downside number 1. Let's look at this detailed report on Montana, though. 51,500 bomb damage, and then the fires were all the bombs. So we did 67,000 damage to this Montana in like 1 minute. And part of why it wasn't better is, if you recall, I whiffed one of the airstrikes. If you guys remember, I whiffed one of the airstrikes. Then, of course, Marlboro went flat twice and did not get away with it, right? But this thing against like US, like it is the raid, like it is the hard counter to main. It is the hard counter to main, while also being like a Republic Kremlin AP level threat at long range. And the combination of those two things is like really, really incredible in my opinion. Now, like I said, we are looking at 3 shorter replays, and now I will confess something to you, which is that these are, we always do back-to-back games unless I specifies otherwise. These games are back-to-back in the technical sense. And what I mean by that is they're 3 games in a row of Willem to Eerste. But that last game had about a 3-hour gap until this game, because I'll be honest, boys, I crashed out pretty hard. There was a bit of a crash out, I can't lie. The sub literally breakdancing on my cock and balls, stroking my shaft as my own friendly sub was 1 kilometer away and had never once in the entire fucking game used sub radar. Yeah, I can't lie. Kind of threw me for one. So we're gonna look at 3 games because I kind of play this boat like a monkey a little bit, and I want to. Anytime I play a ship like a monkey, I always like to do more than the normal just 2 replays, because pushing is inherently inconsistent, much more so than kiting, right? Like that last game, imagine if I had chosen really early to kite away into my own spawn. Maybe we farm like 200k instead of 140, maybe, I don't know. We probably don't die to the sub that early, right? So, but I push a lot in this boat. I love pushing in Willem. Now we can talk about why pushing is kind of maybe not the move overall, but that's how I play the game. But I really like to push in Willem because we can talk about the hull real quick, and the hull is dog shit, straight up. It's really bad. Think like if Republic had a giant citadel, that is kind of the level of this hull. Now, hold on. There's an asterisk there. And the asterisk is the hull is like uniquely dog shit in the stern and not the worst in the bow. And what I mean by that is the stern is where like kind of with St. Vincent, Duncan, similar Scarlet Thunder, which it's modeled on. Most of your superstructure, almost all of your superstructure is in your ass. And so when your whole ship is open water and exposed, particularly when kiting, the superstructure is huge. You can't really tell, but we'll look at it in port as always, right? The superstructure is pretty damn big. Nice little smash on GL, 6 out of 9 shells, almost dev struck him. You can't really tell, but the superstructure is really big. Now, you also have 30-degree forward firing angles. So, double fire with the bombs in this guy. We're going to get a little aggro trying to greed the perma-fire. That's kind of why I'm doing this. But see how the idea here is I'm peeking out, and what I'm kind of trying to do in this boat a lot is I'm actually kind of trying to play it on islands a lot, and that is because a very substantial amount of your hull's weakness can be mitigated, and there you go. So kind of worth it. We got the permafire in Hanover, which is going to give us like 15,000 damage, right? Greed is good. And so by poking your bow out, you can show a 30 degrees of angle to get all your guns on target, which is pretty solid. Now at close range, you're probably going to take citadels kind of with a cheek situation, quite possibly. But at longer range, it's not so likely. And you're showing very little superstructure. Almost no superstructure can be shown when you just poke the guns out with the bow, because most, like 80% of your superstructure is in your ass. So if you can conceal your ass on an island, you can make your ship kind of arbitrarily a bit more tanky than it otherwise is open water. Open water, it's very common for just like a Montana to shoot you for 20k, just getting those pens on the rear superstructure, right? And of course, you know, you see this Iowa, he's really only at about 60 degrees, but we just have so much pen and such railguns that, like, even if he doesn't go perfectly flat, we don't even really have to aim cheek because we've just got so much pen on these guns. It's really, really nice having high AP pen, guys. Like, this might be a hot take, but we're gonna say it. I unironically value AP pen more than dispersion. Now, within reason, right? Within reason. Like, I value in-comp dispersion more than Satsuma AP pen, right? Or Shikishima AP pen, right? Because it's twice as accurate. But, like, when it comes to these BBs, you know, a ship like Willem is, you know, what, 4 or 5% less accurate than a ship like Montana. But if a Yamato goes flat at 18, I'm getting black ribbons. If a Vermont goes flat at 20, I'm getting black ribbons, right? And, like, to me, I don't know what it is, dude. I'm just at the point in, like, my World of Warships experience where I just want to dog on BBs. Like, I've played so many cruiser, like, I enjoy cruisers, quote-unquote, enjoy them the most. And I'm just at this point where it's like, just let me fuck the BB that's flat, dude. Just please. When I shoot that Golden Lion and I only, quote-unquote, right, because I'm a B-baby, when I only get 35k instead of 50 and he lives, I don't care. That's fine. But if that fucking Vermont goes flat to me at 19 and I get non-pens, I'm crashing out. I'm losing my shit, right? Because these BB players just, they always go flat all the goddamn time. They go flat all the goddamn time. They never take a Citadel. And then they cry when cruisers go flat and don't get literally full to zero by them. Like, it's unbelievable. So, I mean, of course, what's the, you know, like I'm saying in the chat, the entire team's AFK. I don't really know why. My Svia's been AFK on the flank despite nothing has ever pushed him. My Setsuma's been AFK in spawn despite nothing ever shooting at him. And then my Stalingrad and Jaeger, like, still won't leave the 10 rock. So, you know, this is kind of why it's more inconsistent to push, right? Because all of a sudden, my team is in a 10 versus 8, but I'm in a 1v5, right? And that is why people don't push. Is it subs? Is it CVs? Maybe partially. But really two reasons that are never talked about why people don't push. One, it's harder. It takes more skill to push. But also, two, your teammates are dogs. Like, they just are. Guaranteed. They're trash. They're dog shit. Guaranteed. I can tell you this. I don't care. You're probably in a game right now, and I guarantee your team is ass. And so they do shit like this, right? They do shit like this where they camp and spawn in a full HP Satsuma. They camp and spawn in a full HP Svia despite no threatening ships near them, right? They don't play the game. And so if you're the only guy in your team who's playing the video game, then you're going to probably get dogged on, right? So we're just kind of poking on our front guns. Nice little bow hit on this guy. And I'm actually going to accelerate. And the reason why I'm accelerating is because he doesn't have the greatest firing angles. And I'm really hoping that if I accelerate fast enough, I can prevent him from getting around the rock and getting the rear guns on me. But so now we've accelerated and, like, okay, well, we lived it, so we're good now. Well, no, we're not good now. Why aren't we good now? Well, because there's a Barbiano 4 kilometers from half of my team, but nobody's going to shoot at him. So he's just going to basically go AFK and, you know, take the last 20k of my HP pool, because basically my Utrecht is going to camp on a rock instead of shooting him. So very unfortunate, to be sure. But this is kind of what happens a lot of the times when you push. It just is what it is, right? You know, you push. But I mean, look, we're at 160,000 damage. right? I mean, in an 8-minute game, we're at 160,000 damage. We like completely fisted these BBs on our flank. Um, we tanked. We held off basically a 5-ship push, right? Like, it's game impact. We're coping. We're definitely coping a bit because our team being AFK is a gigantic tilter. I can't lie. But that is how it goes a lot of the time when you push. But I do still think that it's a good ship to push in. Now, obviously, this is an island pushing situation, right? But I mean, again, basically, the fires were basically all because of the airstrikes, right? Because those fires were caused because we griefed his DCP. Solid hit on Golden, solid hits on Iowa. It's a really I would say this is like these two games are like the benchmark pushing and Willem games. Like a very, very repeatable experience. If you get hung out to dry by your team, your damage number isn't super funny. If you don't get hung out to dry by your team, your damage number is super funny, kind of a deal, right? And we're in the third of these 3 back-to-back games, and we're yet again going to push. And like I said at the end of that last replay, the pushing isn't going to work when you don't have islands. But when you do have islands, I do strongly recommend pushing in close because, number one, right, if you're not in range to airstrike, the guns are great. I've had games in Willem that had like 250,000 damage without a bomb hit. Like basically no bomb damage, almost 300k games, because you've got great guns, right? So you can definitely get good game impact, good damage guns only. But then of course, what do we always say? Well, why play the boat, right? So like, why play the boat if I'm never going to be in range to airstrike people? And guess what, guys? Sometimes the enemy team are kiting dogs. I know most of the time our team are kiting dogs, right? And we're like, why did I push and my whole team was AFK? Well, sometimes the guy on the red team feels that way. He thinks, why did I push and my whole team sat AFK? But then that means you won't be able to airstrike the AFK dogs, right? So here we can see the value of shell velocity, by the way. Something like a Montana probably doesn't even land shells on this Wisconsin because he's just too fast and would get behind the rock in time. Kind of a unicorn citadel, but still pretty cool. So we've got an island, right? We've made it to our island, and now we're kind of waiting because this is one of like the most passive maps in the. This is not a very good map for airstrike ships, really at all. And so we're kind of waiting. This is going to be mostly probably a gun-focused game. It's just kind of the nature of how this map usually, in my experience, plays out, which is the nature of the islands kind of naturally promote super deep flanking. And especially if you're positioned anywhere near the middle of the map, it's really, really hard to get close enough to airstrike people. Even with 15 km airstrike range, right? I mean, you can see on the map that solid middle line that shows our airstrike range. And you can see, like, how far out from this island I would need to get. And, of course, the problem is there's an HMS inconsistent guns, glass cannon, TM Trust on the enemy team, so we don't really want to like push out into that. I mean, I get it, it only will like 25k us on cooldown through the bow because it's the HMS inconsistent, and we probably won't do any damage back to it because it's the HMS glass cannon. But still, wouldn't it be like the most prudent play to push into the mouth of an incomp? I mean, maybe he gets lucky and does damage, right? Who knows? So we're just kind of biding our time. Like you can see, like I'm mentioning before, how much we would have to push out. So I would at minimum have to commit to the next island. But the problem with committing to the next island is, of course, there's a carrier in the game, right? Now, in a no CV game, I'm probably pushing to the next island already. I can't lie, because I love to push. I love to play like a monkey, you know me. And yeah, if there's no carrier, because Trump isn't that big of a threat, right? My Adriatico's doing a really good job. He's dodging torps. He took the cap against a radar cruiser. He's in a useful position, right? He's in a screening position. The Trump can't, get within airstrike or torp range of us without Adriatico spotting him. So, like, truly the uber rare green DD with a brain moment. You love to see it. So we're still kind of waiting because, like I said, there's a carrier in our game. With no carrier, I'm probably sending it to this island. And I do eventually end up on that island. But the problem is if I go now, If I go now and this Wisconsin's got a sack on him, and the carrier comes my way just one time and I'm spotted rushing to the next island, it's very likely GG Reds, because the Citadel on this thing is horrific. I mean, there's no coping out of it. Like, if you go flat in Willem to Eerste, it is black ribbons for red player. It is bad, bro. It is real bad. It's not only way out of the water, but it's not super... I mean, not super high. I want to say the plating, like, even including the torp protection, is around 350. So, like, Montana's dev striking you at max range, right? Like, you can't pull a Kremlin, you can't pull a Vermont, and just go flat at 20 because nothing can Citadel you, aside from this, right? So, the Tromp has been run off. So, we're just going to send it, basically. Yeah, the Wisconsin could pop out and dev strike me, you know, if he wants it, but... One, I really want the angles on this Annapolis because he's multiple times been flirting with reversing, as you've seen. We've kind of just missed him both times. And yeah, this Wisconsin could come out and fuck me. It's definitely a possibility. But we're trying to get rid of the Annapolis, number one. Number two, all the damage is middle, right? Like, the Wisconsin's camping on an island. You know, it is what it is, right? We could get within airstrike range, but, like, you know, all the enemy ships are middle. So we're trying to rush middle. We're trying to get onto this island, which is kind of like my ultimate goal. Now, of course, we've got HMS Glass Cannon. Trust TM, please. Perfectly flat at 12 kilometers. We aim perfectly. Yeah, we don't get a Citadel. Why? Because it's actually got an insanely troll Citadel, it turns out, guys. Wow, crazy. Yeah. It's like even with the water. So if your shells disperse like those did just barely high, you don't get Citadels. Wow. Oh, but if it was Bourgogne, we would have gotten overpens. Right. Got it. Learning. Okay. So we're pushing in, and I'm mad about that one because I greeted for the double drop, and I just missed that Wisconsin. I mean, that could have been like a 50k hit, but he's just, you know, we were dropping Montanas earlier. He's 4 knots faster. We didn't lead for him to be 4 knots faster. We led like a dog. So now we've gotten in a really good position. We're trying to be super cringe and snipe through the fucking eyelid of this rock. Oh, somebody locked me up. This is so fucking cringe, dude. Oh my goodness. So it's an Azuma, you know. Yeah, you can't kill us. We're in a battleship. We're in any battleship in the game, so Azuma can't kill us. That's just kind of how it works. Wargaming just designed the game to work that way. So it is what it is. He's going to end up kiting back into spawn, and I think we kill him with the next shot at like a 0-degree angle, which is very cool game design, of course. So we're yet again just cringe sniping with the eyelet. But we've made it to our power position, right? I wanted to get to this position a little earlier, but we made it here in a decent amount of time. And the main reason I really wanted to get here because our team had 0 presence middle, if you've been noticing. We had 1 battleship right here. That was the little Ponto, and he died. And now we have 0 deterrence on them walking in middle because that Wisconsin really stalled a lot of time, right? Our team decided to all flank the Narnia route on him, which isn't like a terrible play in and of itself, but it just took a long time, right? It just took them a long time to flank that guy and kill him. And so they got the kill, which was crucial, right? You can't let the Wisconsin be on your flank. And then cross-mapping and back-capping, obviously. But we had no BB presence middle. Like, our BBs are still 10 km behind me, right? And so we need to shove middle as fast as humanly possible because if these guys are allowed to get set up middle, then there might not be coming back, right? We have to make sure we've got the middle presence. And, of course, you know, this guy angles in time, but, you know, he's in a cruiser, guys. He's in a cruiser. It's just the life of a cruiser. That's how it happens, you know. A BB with what most people consider not even toxic guns against cruisers shoots you at any angle and you lose 10,000 damage, and now he's dead. So we're in our power position. We're basically going to be here until we push at the very end of the game. And we're just kind of juggling back and forth because the Tromp already airstruck me once. But God bless, my Edgar is actually sailing south. So very soon the Tromp will not be able to airstrike us anymore. But we still, as you can see, our BBs have still yet to catch up. So we're still waiting, right? We're just dropping like ridiculous opportunistic airstrikes at this incomp kind of a deal. and we're just making sure we don't die here, right? We don't want to die until the BBs get in the game. As soon as my Ohio and my incomparable can like get all the way into B, then it's probably not a problem if we were to die, right? But dying like super early on that rock before the BBs can get in the game would probably be, probably be a big problem. So this Schlieffen is kind of getting away with murder. We're not really getting a Citadel, but part of what's really nice about this ship, you know, similar to Repub, obviously it doesn't have Repub reload, but it's like a 24-second reload, right? 24.5 base reload. It's really, really good. It's really good. You definitely like notice how much nicer that reload is than ships that have like a full 30-second reload. And I actually kind of made a miscalculation there. I didn't think Barfleur was ever close enough to get torps on me that deep, but you know, obviously he was. We have been caught lacking. So now we, of course, you know, the Shimano's coming back. We've got to sit here because we're flooding, which means even if we come out, we have no maneuverability, right? So we're just shooting at the Barfleur to make sure that if that guy misses him with his next salvo, he's dead. So he's dead. And 2.8 skill, guys. I mean, I don't know what... there are actually people out here in Big 25 not running 2.8 skill. I mean, you can see like how much value we're getting out of it every time these planes are here. We're reloading VCP or we're reloading the heal, right? I mean, it's a mandatory skill. Like you don't play randoms without 2.8 skill on. There's no BB. I don't care what the build you want to run is. You give up something. It doesn't matter. If your ship has dogshit turret traverse, well then guess what? You take maybe one less heal on your vote. Like, my goodness, man. I mean, we're getting the heal back instantly, right? Because the Tromp planes are here. Like, it's just a heaven fucking sent 2-point skill. Probably the best 2-point skill in the game. So now, we've only got, you know, a handful of ships left. This is a game that would be like, you know, we would say unlosable, right? And so I'm going to decide to push in because, I mean, there's a full health, you know, world's least AFK super battleship player in the Patrie. And now the thing to keep in mind, right, is like we kind of discussed at the very start of this review, these airstrikes are not special against a ship like Patrie. I mean, realistically, you'd be much, much better off in a Golden Lion or an Utrecht against something like a Patrie, because they just have more airstrike DPM, right? And something to keep in mind is if you do a little, you know, third grade level maths, and you actually, you know, you can go on Ship Tool and you can look at the size of the bomb dispersion pattern, the size of the box the bombs drop in for every airstrike. And of course, you can count the number of bombs in each airstrike. And of course, you can count up the damage per bomb. You can plug that all into a little $2 calculator. And you can find out that the saturation is not really any different. And what I mean by that is like the damage per square meter, if you want to think of it, it's probably the easiest way to think of it, right? Is bomb damage per square meter of the bomb drop pattern. The PVO and Willem airstrikes aren't like really any better. So they really only make use of having the giant drop pattern against giant ships, right? It's kind of the way to look at it. But of course, it's a French battleship, boys. I mean, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This man has lost basically his whole boat to 2 airdrops because he did, in fact, single damage control party 1 fire. Yeah, he DCP'd a single fucking fire. God bless. So, I mean, we did, like, what, over 30k with those 2 drops, and we have a perma fire. So, like, those 2 airstrikes, 50k damage, basically. And that's kind of how it goes. If it's a French BB, if it's a USM BB covered in 38, that's really about how it goes. I mean, he just lost, like, 60,000 plus damage to us in 30 seconds. It's amazing. And you know what? If he was in, like, a main, he probably would have lost more, which is crazy to think about. But there you go. Three games kind of pushing like a retard. First game didn't work at all. We had a bad team, and more importantly, the enemy sub got in our spawn because our sub was a dog, right? And that's just how it goes. And then in the other two games, you know, in the second game, our team was AFK, but fortunately won the other flank, so it worked. And then in this game, you know, I'd argue we probably just had the slightly better team. You know, maybe it's a close game if I don't take middle early. We probably still win, right? This is probably just one of those games you can't lose. Um, Probably. But again, I mean, dude. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like 60,000 damage. I mean, I guess we did 8K with the guns at the end. So 50,000 damage dealt like virtually instantaneously, right? It's just, and this is, I would say these are like the average games. Like, I'd say a normal game in Willem is like 150, 160K damage, couple of kills, um, maybe a dozen to 2 dozen bomb hits. Um, I've had a handful of games in the low 300s, but of course I don't like to do reviews that way, as you guys know. I don't think it really makes sense to just do a review because we got one game with 300K and then shoehorn another game in. Because, I mean, if that was the case, then my GK review would have had a 300K game, and then you guys would think GK is good. Is that how it works? I don't think so, right? So I think it's more important, like, to, one, recognize I am kind of pushing like an idiot every game in this boat. It consistently works 2 out of 3 times. It's good enough for me. You can probably kite in it. If you're a good damage farmer and you play passive, you can average 200K in this boat. I have no doubt. I have no doubt a better player than me who also likes to AFK farm can average 200,000 fucking damage in this clown car. No doubts whatsoever. Because really the only thing that usually limits my damage in this boat is I push and I die early. And then that does bring my average damage down. Whereas if I was a kiting griefer, because like, dude, you can play PVO HE spam. Like, you can play this boat and you just HE spam every 24 seconds and it's fucking wicked. I mean, it's, you guys have to realize, like, there's this idea that Conqueror is a good HE spammer. It's not, right? It's an amazing tanker, one of the tankiest BVs in the game. But you guys have to remember, right? We have a better reload than Conqueror. We have way better shell arcs than Conqueror. We have the same fire chance as Conqueror. We have almost as much damage per shell as Conqueror. And then we have 3 shells less. So faster velocity means we hit more. Way more accurate means we hit more per salvo. Similar fire, almost the same fire chance, almost as much alpha damage. So, like, I want you to think, if you're playing a ship like Conqueror and you're HE spamming only, like, you can just basically do that in Willem, but then you also get the airstrikes, but then you also get the railgun cracked AP, right? You also get this amazing concealment. I mean, we're not even talking about, like, the speed boost and everything, right? Like, it basically just even slips my mind, like, if you're playing Republic in Big 25, you just buy this boat. Because, like, sure, Republic can overmatch 30mm cruisers. Number one, it's like the most useless ship in the game that has 30mm overmatch, because in order to use the 30mm overmatch on the cruisers it overmatches, you have to be close, and then they burn the fuck, they just pen you everywhere, so you actually die anyway, right? Unlike even Preußen, where you can actually tank and use the 30 overmatch to bully cruisers. So losing the 30 overmatch, like, yes, right? Yes, it's a fucking downside. Sure, whatever, bro. It's a downside. Yeah, when you shoot a Des Moines across the map, you can't, like, accidentally, 30K in through the deck. I get it. It's a downside, sure, what the fuck ever. But, like, I mean, against broadsides, it's a repub against broadsides, right? The hull, the armor, the survivability feels, honestly, in my opinion, better than a repub because you can play on rocks a lot better. And that's kind of how I recommend playing it. Although you can also kite, it's fine. Ugh. But the boat just farms like crazy damage, just HE only. I mean, like, typically, there's in my experience not that big of a correlation in my high damage games and my high airstrike damage games. Like, if you look at this game, right, we've done 46K with bombs, but that was really just like 2 good airdrops and 1 shitty airdrop. And like, I've had games where the bomb damage is like in the 120s, 130s, like crazy bomb hit games. It's a little more matchmaker dependent. Like, if you get like a main on the enemy team, oh, you are feasting, son. You are feasting on enemy main players. But like, I want to say one or two of my 300k damage games in this boat were like very little airstrike damage, but just people are coming out of spawn, 10k and a fire on cooldown. Like when it comes to HE spam, it's Conqueror. It's basically Saint Vincent. I mean, not quite as good as Saint Vincent, but it's Conqueror level HE spam for sure. It's fucking crazy, and like I said, you have like the really bizarre modifier to splash damage. It's very obvious. Um, Anyone who plays this game, right, knows about the magical British HE, where like a Thunderer salvo lands 20 meters from your destroyer and all torp tubes are permanently destroyed. God bless, right? Happens all the time. And this boat does the same thing. Like, you saw with that first replay when we hit that Benham, 4 shells, 4 modules fucking smacked off the planet, right? Like it very consistently does that. Now that won't be as big of an asset in the next patch. Keep that in mind because they are reworking module damage. You can no longer permanently destroy modules for the whole game, which is a very good thing, a very 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 good thing. But that ability that like this ship has, that the British BBs have, where just every HE shell breaks half the enemy DD, especially. That won't really be as much of a thing. But the boat is just crazy. Like, just HE spamming on cooldown with your good reload. Crazy good HE spammer. Ships go flat to you. Doesn't matter. Yamato at 19 km flat, Citadels. Vermont at 21 km flat, Citadels. God bless, dude. God bless. Oh my god. And then, like, people try to push in or play rocks, you airstrike the fuck out of them. I mean, it's again that issue that airstrike boats have. It's not just that the airstrike is toxic, it's that you can fight 2 people at one time. And really, like, no other ships can do that. Like, secondary ships are the only ships that can really fight 2 people at once. And then airstrike ships can also fight 2 people at once. And it's really, really absurd that, like, a battleship is going flat to you and you 45k it with AP, and then at the exact same time, the main 15 km away behind the island just got hit for 45k with 2 airdrops. Like, you can get some insane wombo combos. I actually think I have a YouTube short, one of the most recent YouTube shorts, where I do like 90,000 damage to a Montana with guns and airstrikes in like 35 seconds. Like, the guy goes flat, we shoot him, we airstrike him, and we shoot him again, and like he's basically full to zeroed by that. Like, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, how hard, if people make one mistake to any beat, right? If you're in a Montana and you go flat to like a Vermont, you might get 40 or 50k'd, but then you turn out and then you're okay. But like a good player in Willem, if you go flat to him, like, you might get 40 or 50k with the guns, but as the 40 or 50k Citadel damage happens, bam, buddy, there goes another 30k to the airstrikes. Like, it's fucking diabolical, dude. Diabolical. All right, let us start with equipment. There's probably no surprises here. Cold DCP mod. I'm not playing randoms without it. Speed boost mod is great. Aiming, obviously. Concealment, obviously. Reload, obviously. Every now and then I see a Willem with fucking 25 km range. Get some goddamn help, bro. The choice is prop or airstrike, right? I mean, you definitely don't run steering on this boat. Or really on any BB, you don't run steering. But proper airstrike, like I said on Utrecht, I think prop is like you just have to run prop. The boat sucks ass without it. But like, I mean, you're in a BB, and also the speed boost. This ship, part of Utrecht's problem is it has abnormally bad acceleration. And this doesn't. It's just got normal kind of BB acceleration. But with the speed boost up, like, you basically have prop mod. And even without prop mod, like, it's fine. And the airstrikes have a long enough cooldown that, like, you're never storing 2+, right? Like, that's something we can also talk about, because I'm running Conrad. You run Conrad on Willem for the DPM buff, the damage buff when you get damage, and then the Witherer buff. You're never making any value out of an extra airstrike. I mean, most games you never even hit 50 bombs, but like, Conrad, if you missed Conrad but you want Willem, I think this is like the least important Dutch ship to have Willem on. Obviously the reload buff when you get Witherer is great, But of course, on a battleship, it's not as important as on DPM cruisers and DDs, right? So like, I wouldn't stress too hard about running Conrad. It's a nice buff, right? You get 150k damage, which does happen like almost every game, and then you get a 6% damage buff. If you get Witherer, which in this boat I'd say happens like every 3 or 4 games, probably, you get another 10% DPM buff. Those are nice, but the airstrike buff is never gonna give you a fucking thing. So I run the airstrike mod instead of prop because you can almost always spam these on cooldown because they have 15 km range, right? That's part of the thing. As far as the captain goes, I think it's just this is the build. 100% you run that and this, and these skills here. Now, I would say there's maybe like, do I want IRPR, right? Because you will benefit from IRPR. The boat doesn't have a lot of HP pool. But, 15% cooldown on the airstrikes is a sizable amount of time, right? That's a really sizable amount of time. It's like almost 15 full seconds off the airstrike, and you will make use of that. And I don't really feel like I've ever died in this boat running out of heals. I mean, to be honest with you, I guess there's probably that one game here or there. Like, IRPR is good. You could maybe even make a case that IRPR over ERE on this boat because of low HP pool, right? Any boat where you can't afford both skills, I think the discussion then becomes how much HP does your ship have? And you probably could benefit from IRPR maybe more than ERE. It's hard to say, though, man. It's hard to say. I run this. I mean, it works fine, in my opinion. But definitely you could swap ERE for IRPR. You could definitely do that. And now we can look at the armor. It's pretty bad. Like I said, basically if Repub had a sit, right? I mean, you look at the size of the superstructure. It's very big. It takes up like the whole last 2/5 of your boat. And then if we peel layers away, that's all the Citadel, friends. God bless. Yeah, 305 shielded by torp protection. So like, sheesh. Yeah, that's like 340 millimeters of protection, and then up in the front, it's like significantly more. So this is kind of a tip. If you're shooting at a Willem, something to keep in mind is you do get Citadels much more consistently near its ass, right? Because 356, and keep in mind, you can actually see it's pretty damn sloped, right? You can kind of see that. It's reasonably sloped. So sloped 356 plus flat 32 is about equal to around 400 millimeters, a little bit more. And so let's say you were in like a Montana at 20 kilometers and you shoot dead center, like you will get Citadels on this half and not on this half. So it is something to keep in mind if you've caught this boat flat, that shooting it where the rear superstructure is more likely to net you a Citadel. Also, part of the problem too, I mean, we could talk about this. It's one of the few boats with a flat ass. So if you kite at close range, don't ever do that. Don't ever kite at close range in this fucking boat because like everything just shoots you right in the transom stern. Shoots you right in the ass, and you take a Citadel. It's not great. I learned that the hard way like 1 week into playing this boat. I tried to avoid a ram against a guy I thought I would kill, and he dev struck me through the butt. It wasn't a fun time. I didn't appreciate it. So yeah, the armor's ass, and that's why I said like that. But like I was saying, right? If you can peek out just the front half of your boat, almost no superstructure. So, and 30-degree firing angles. So if you can really finesse these 30-degree forward firing angles and finesse with a rock shielding the second half of your boat, the rear half of your boat, you can present a virtually non-existent superstructure and an auto bounce angle. Now, like I said, right, if you get shot like right in the tip of the bow at close range, and you're right, if you're 30 degrees, that means you're 30 degrees center line, right? So that means this slope is more like 35-40, which means about half the battleship shells that don't overmatch 32 will pass the ricochet check. So, I mean, if you're shooting all your guns at close range, you can probably take a sit through the nose, right? Probably likely you can get Citadel. But at longer range, not too much of a risk. And then you can present this like 10 square meters of superstructure and almost auto bounce angles. It's pretty cool that you can do that. It's something worth keeping in mind. And then part of the problem, of course, is like when you kite, especially like it's a very frustrating experience, I think, kiting in this boat. I mean, I hate kiting anyway, but it's extra frustrating because it feels like people are rewarded for bad aim. Like, you're kiting away, and the guy misaimed and he underled you. Well, guess what? He underled you, and now he 20Ks your superstructure. God bless, right? Um, so, that is the Willem. It's quite good. It, however, is simply unplayable against subs. So you've got to keep that in mind. Do you have the mental fortitude to deal with, like, now, I have about oh my god, I have no life. I have almost 100 games in this boat now, I think. And the amount of games that are like that last one, where, like, you're dead 100% solely and only due to subs, and you can't fight back, it's like 5 games. It's like 1 in 10, 1 in 20. But, like, I mean, you guys know how the human mind is programmed with good versus bad memories. Like, those 1 in 10, 1 in 20 games where you die because it's a sub, and, like, you can't even do anything. Like, at least in your Montana, you're, like, spam dropping. Oh, I got a splash hit. Oh, I got a splash hit. Wow, I feel so good about you. You don't even get that. Wargaming won't even give you the pity fuck of, like, some blind hits on a sub. So, I mean, yeah, it'll, I mean, I had to take a 3 hour break. I thought I was going to play 2 or 3 Willem games, and I just immediately crashed out. And then after I ate dinner, I had to come back and play 2 more. But, I mean, it is a tilter. I mean, it's a big-time tilter. You just don't have ASW. So don't be thinking that, like, oh, well, if there's nothing to airstrike, I might as well drop the subs. Like, it just doesn't work that way, dude. Because you just can't hit them. I mean, you just can't hit them. They have the same drop time. It won't say here, but it's like 17.5 seconds for the airstrikes to drop. It's fucking... And an 80-second reload. So you have, like, 1/3 the ASW DPM of a normal BB. But your drops also take twice as long to fall, so you'll never hit it. So you don't have... You're basically the only ship in the game. Like, I sometimes joke when I play this ship on stream that I'd be better off with ship-based ASW, because you literally would. Like, you would literally be better off in most sub-games by having the roll it over the side depth charges, because you might theoretically hit a sub every now and then, but, like, you're never going to hit one with these ASW planes. So you have to keep that in mind. I'd say it's the true glaring downside of this boat, like we just did the hot take BB tier list. This is like an S tier battleship if it had real ASW. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, the only reason I can't wholeheartedly, with my dick pointed out, recommend this boat is because, like, there are people who hate subs more than I do. I mean, I hate subs, but, like, there are people who hate subs more than carriers, which, I mean, is insane. But, I mean, if you're one of those people, I don't know if you're going to psychologically handle the times this boat dies to subs, how enraging it is, because you can't do anything. Yeah, that'll do it for Billy the First, buddy. It's a great ship, really strong in randoms, farms a crazy amount of damage, but actually has decent game impact, actually is okay at pushing due to the firing angles and the cracked AP. And if anything's in your mouth and you can easily hit them with an airstrike, like, God bless. Very solid ship. Definitely worth getting for steel. I mean, obviously get Bora going first. Best steel ship, TM. But, yeah, that'll do it. As always, thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.